Well, well, well. You know, sometimes I feel like these videos just kind of string together, right? We start complaining about one thing, which leads into another, which leads into another. Hell, we just got through complaining about Sandbox for PvP. And let's be frank, for the most part, Destiny is in a good spot. But I like to believe this isn't exactly complaining, we're just giving feedback. And for somebody like Bungie, getting honest feedback is a good thing. So I wanted to give my feedback today on the Master Mode Vow of the Disciple. And if I had to rate the raid and the reward structure and everything about it based on its Master Mode version, 1 out of 10. No, really, 1 out of 10. It's that bad. Now, back in the day when we got Vault of Glass, the Master Mode version of it, we got the time loss weapons. This, of course, had multiple perks per column. It was also Adept, so we can slot on things like Adept mods. And of course, you had the Masterwork feature, which would give you extra stat points outside of your designated Masterwork stats. And at the time, I think everyone was pretty satisfied with that, right? For the most part, Adept weapons, those were the weapons everyone was striving for. However, in Witch Queen, we got weapon crafting. And weapon crafting, even though a lot of people don't like the system, and I too believe that weapon crafting can be overall better, and we're getting there, right? We've seen from some of the mentions in previous TWABs that they're going to be consolidating resources, making it easier to understand, and overall weapon crafting will get to a place that we want, even though I still think that enhanced traits should be unlocked permanently. But the beautiful thing about weapon crafting is when you go into the raid, when you get these red box weapons for these raid weapons, and when you complete them, you'll eventually gain weapon patterns, thus allowing you to take that raid weapon, go to the crafting table, and craft not only a god roll, but an enhanced god roll. Now, this had all of us questioning, what about Adept raid weapons? Will we be able to craft them? No, they're not even on the crafting menu. Matter of fact, to make matters even worse, I actually had a red box Insidious drop for me yesterday, completed it, and then proceeded to pull the resonant material out of the weapon, and then I go check my weapon patterns, and lo and behold, the Adept version of Insidious does not even count toward the weapon pattern of the base gun. And I guess that's because in the game, Destiny considers that to be a completely separate weapon, which it is, right? But you would think that it would contribute at least to the weapon pattern. Now, DMG has since come out and stated that this is a bug on their side and that a fix is coming in a future release. So I do advise, if you do get any of these red box weapons for any of these, because they're rare, right? Getting a red box, any weapon in the raid is super rare. And pretty much for the most part, I may get 1, maybe 2 a week. And one of those is guaranteed after doing the chest unlock throughout the raid. So the red box versions of these weapons, the Adept versions, I would highly advise just throwing them in your vault. Do not pull the resonant materials out of them unless you already have the weapon pattern for that specific weapon. So just to recount, Master Mode Raid drops Adept weapons that are not craftable, that do not come with enhanced perks, and even after doing deep sight resonance on them, it doesn't even count toward your weapon pattern. So ask yourself, what the hell is the point of doing Master Mode Vow of the Disciple? And the answer to that is there is no point. Like literally no point. Fellas, just pulling an LFG team together, and we had this experience yesterday because we didn't have everybody on at resets, but just pulling an LFG squad together just to do the regular raid is already a struggle, right? Much less the Master Mode version of it. And considering how bad the loot is, last night, my squad didn't even do it. My regular squad decided, hey, Master Mode is just not worth our time. And that's really what's happening here. It's just not worth the time. Not when these weapons are craftable. And look, this is an issue that would plague other weapons as well. If Trials, for instance, had a Shayura's Wrath that was craftable with enhanced traits, do you think people would use the Adept version of Shayura over an enhanced version of Shayura? Hell nah! The enhanced versions of these weapons are better. Matter of fact, Adept weapons, unless something has changed about them, has really lost a lot of its value if there is a craftable counterpart to it. Now, this is somewhat of an issue because, well, the Adept weapons for the raid are somewhat difficult to obtain. Raid's hard. On top of that, it's not even guaranteed that you're going to get an Adept weapon every single completion of these encounters. A lot of times, you're just going to get raid armor, and the raid armor isn't even anything special. This would have been a perfect opportunity to include artifice armor like we had with the average dungeon. These armor pieces actually had an extra bonus slot, which allowed us to equip artifact mods. This was very, very good armor pieces, and honestly, still the best. Considering the fact that artifice armor offers these extra slots, and starting this season, we can unlock every single artifact mod, and a lot of them are low-cost artifact mods, artifice armor is now extremely valuable. Master Mode Vow of the Disciple, if it offered artifice armor, would at least be something. I would be like, you know what? Yeah, I know I'm not getting Adept weapons with enhanced perks. No, this weapon is not counting toward my weapon patterns, although that's a bug, and the weapon's not necessarily craftable. Hey, at least though, I'm getting artifice armor from this raid, so I'm getting something of value out of this struggle. Now, I think some of the reasons why we don't have artifice armor inside of the raid is because we already have an extra mod socket on the end, and that is meant for the raid mods. And Bungie's mentioned in the past about the what data caps that they have on armor pieces as well as our weapons, and that's of course is why our weapons can't create orbs on their own, and now we have to rely on a helmet mod to do that. Maybe 5 is the limit, right? 5 sockets and a piece of armor is the limit that we have for our armor pieces, and that's why we're not going to see artifice armor ever from raids. And maybe that's just going to be locked to dungeons, which of course does give value to the dungeons. All I'm saying is, as of right now, there is no reason to do master mode raids. Adept weapons loses value when there is a counterpart that is craftable. Now the question pops up, Cross, what if you just made adept weapons craftable? Could we do that? You could. I mean, in the least, just completing deep sight resonance on these adept weapons should count toward the base version of the weapon pattern. Now the issue with this is going to kind of just tie back into why Bungie got rid of pinnacles, right? There's going to be this talk of, oh man, these weapons are way too strong. Not only are these weapons getting all these perks and bonuses with masterworks and of course adept mods, but on top of that, you're also going to give them enhanced traits. They're literally outclassing everything else. You have 2 options here. Either A, make adept weapons craftable, but with a separate weapon pattern, which of course would require you to grind for even longer. Of course, this would often undermine the base version of these weapons, right? Or you can just have the adept weapons drop with enhanced traits. Just flat out. Let RNG dictate what you get. And you can apply this everywhere. You can apply this to trials, nightfalls, grandmasters that is, and the raids. There is that issue of power creep, but here's the thing. If you don't do something like that, dude, I'm not gonna do master mode raids. I'm not, outside of just the day 1 content of doing it, I'm not gonna do the master mode version of these raids. If a future raid releases and there are craftable raid weapons in that raid for the base version, and then adept weapons are coming afterwards that are A, not craftable, and B, don't have enhanced traits, I'm not gonna do it. It's just not worth the struggle. On top of that, considering the base version of the weapons with enhanced traits are still better. So that is my solution, which to me seems like a very common sense solution to adept weapons. And I get it. Bungie maybe got sidetracked on other stuff. Maybe adept weapons did have something planned for them, but you saw even in the previous TWABs and mentions that weapon crafting, there was some scrapping, some things were completely changed right at the last minute, hence why we had so many different materials, and I think we were going to even have even more materials than what we currently have with our resonance elements. So this was never going to be a perfect system to begin with. However, Bungie, if you're looking for just tangible feedback from us right now, master mode for any raid will never be worth it unless you make a change to adept weapons. And then on top of that, either A, make the artifice armor pieces available in the raid, or B, just allow for that 5th armor slot to slot not just raid mods, but also artifact mods, right? Like if we supposedly have a limit there or a data cap on our armor pieces, can't we just open up that slot to artifact mods on top of raid mods? And depending on the activity that you're in, you can just swap accordingly. And a lot of people are gonna go, whoa, Cross, isn't that just gonna make the raid armor the best armor in the game? Well, hot damn, shouldn't it be? It's the raid. It's in-game content. And not only in-game content, it's the master mode version of this in-game content. We've seen here recently, due to the bug for the adept weapons in Trials of Osiris, where people were actually getting adept weapons post 7 wins on a Passage of Confidence card. Everyone loved the extra loot they were getting, and you actually saw the numbers in Trials go up. So considering that, Bungie actually made the change where post 7 wins and 1 flawless for a given weekend, adept weapons will be dropping by chance after those games, regardless of your loss count. People like loot. People like to be rewarded for their time. And I always have some like hardcore Destiny 1 player in here that's like, yo, don't you remember back in the day when we had to work for our gear? It took me 10 years to get Galahorn. Look, man, I get it. We were gamers back then, and we're still gamers. But I'm at that point in my gamer life where I like to be rewarded for my time, okay? And right now, Master Mode Vow the Disciple isn't worth my time at all. So guys, that is my thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.